Once an avid surfer known as Patricia Zen, Karma Lekshe Tomo encountered Buddhism through a profound connection and was ordained in France in 1977. She spent 15 years studying Buddhism in Dharamsala before pursuing graduate studies at the University of Hawaii, earning a PhD in comparative philosophy in 2000. In 1985, she founded the Jamyang Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to improving education for women and girls in Buddhist regions. In 1987, she became a founding member of 샤카디타, a global network advocating for gender equity in Buddhism, which she has led for over 30 years. At the iPeaceCenter in Waialua, Hawaii, Karma Lekshe Tomo promotes peace education, Buddhist studies, and community engagement through a variety of programs. So I understand that you've always been interested in how Buddhism can empower and transform women, and that the establishment of 샤카디타 International Association for Buddhist Women is part of that efforts and came from that interest. Can you share with us regarding the inception and establishment of 샤카디타 and its main objectives?
Oh, sure. Well, when we began, the situation of women in Buddhism was pathetic. It was very sad. There were very few nuns, and now Korea is an exception, but even when I was in Korea in 1982, the nuns were very poor. When I stayed at Songkwangsa, and it was rice and kimchi, and maybe once a week a little block of tofu. Yeah, and so luckily I really like kimchi.
Do you still eat kimchi there?
Oh, yes, I have. Yes, I have in my. food. Yes, sure, of course. It's wonderful. And so, when we looked around, we saw that the situation of the nuns was especially dreadful. That many did not have a place to stay. They were living on whatever people gave them. They were just in rags. Many had no place to go. They had no education. Many were illiterate. And their position in the tradition was very ambiguous. They really had no place in the tradition. And so we thought, well, no, wait a second. This doesn't really match up with what the Buddha taught. The Buddha taught that women have the potential to achieve liberation. And at the time of the Buddha, there were thousands of liberated nuns, arhati, and we have their songs of realization in the Therigatha, and stories about their lives. That's another thing we do here. We have a study group that takes up a different topic. Last year was the Noble Eightfold Path. This year is the lives and legends of early Buddhist women. So, next year we might take the lives of contemporary Buddhist women. I've just been reading the memoir of Bulpilsina. Oh, so inspiring. So maybe we'll do that next year. In any case, so we thought, well, something needs to change here. The tradition is just really unbalanced. All the power is in the hands of male practitioners, and women have no power or authority in the tradition at all, no position. Korea is the only place where a woman really has a position in a Buddhist institution. In the Chogyey order, you had a couple of nuns who had administrative position, but in other countries, they're zero. Zero, and no one's really talking about change. So we felt we had to do something. It was too sad. All these very dedicated practitioners had no opportunities. So we thought we'd get together and talk about it, and we'd have a little tea party and, discuss all our issues. And when it came time, 1,500 people showed up. Now that was the opening ceremony with the Dalai Lama. Of course, a lot of people will show up. But then for the coming week, we sat in a circle on the ground in Bodh Gaya, and we talked about what we needed to do to create change in the tradition. And the main thing that kept coming up all the time was education. You know, we have been fortunate, you and I have been so fortunate to get high school, most of us have college, but many women do not have those opportunities. And we saw all these nuns coming out of Tibet who couldn't read. And in Thailand, the average nun had 4th grade at that time. And many had less. So we talked about it for a week, and then we decided, well, we want to continue this conversation. So we need to establish an organization. Like, I'm not into organizations. The last organization I joined was Malibu Surfing Association. But this was important. This was important to all of us. And so we established Sakyadhita, Daughters of the Buddha. And we registered it in the United States. And we started holding conferences every 2 years in a different country. The next was Thailand, and then Sri Lanka, and then, Ladakh, and then, all over the world, twice in Korea, 3 times in India, actually. It's, easy to organize. It's cheap to organize things in India. And, Malaysia and Indonesia and, so many different countries, Mongolia. So we've continued that tradition, and the next conference will be 2 years from now in Sarawak, that's East Malaysia. So these conferences have grown in numbers and also in power. What happens is that women gain confidence by seeing other nuns who are well-educated, well-disciplined, and happy. Then they get inspired that they can also achieve an education. They can also practice well. They can also become teachers. They can also become translators. And so this has been a really wonderful breakthrough for women. And from Sakyadhita have come many famous Buddhist teachers. And of course, it's not just Sakyadhita, but the inspiration, I think, comes from Sakyadhita. And then we all cooperate together. If one is doing, different people do different things. Some are researching the lives of Buddhist women. When we look at the biographies of Buddhist women practitioners, we feel so encouraged, right? We gain confidence that we can also try. We can also do it. And then, for many women to see a nun with a microphone, something they've never seen before in their life, and they come to Korea and they see the amazing discipline of the nuns. It's always a very powerful image. The minute they arrive, everyone just, wow.
Korea is quite special, right?
It's very special, but I recognize that how hard the Korean nuns have worked for this. It wasn't always the case. 50 years ago, the Korean nuns were also sleeping 10 to a room, right? A small room, and eating rice and kimchi. And now, through the power of their determination and their practice and their hard work, they have built these beautiful monasteries and opened them up to thousands of nuns. And many are doing social work and research and, of course, meditation. They're famous for spending meditation. So this, for all of us, is very encouraging. And then when we go back to our countries, we don't want to waste a moment. We also want to practice like this. So I appreciate these opportunities. Of course, it's a great cultural exchange, too. And I must say that from the beginning, we decided to create an alliance of lay women and nuns. Now, some of the nuns in some countries could not understand our vision. They thought, why are they including lay women? But we felt that we were stronger if we worked together.
Sure.
And it's been more difficult. Yes, let's work together. It would have been easier if we had done just nuns. I'm sure of it. We would have got much more support. but working together with the lay women. Now we've fashioned a very powerful coalition, and we support one another, and this is really excellent. We've found this really ideal.
Right. So working together, collaboration, and some education, those are very helpful for changing the gender inequality in Buddhist culture.
Yes, absolutely. And, if I may say, I think that what the Buddhist women are doing is also encouraging to the monks, because some of the monks are not behaving properly. And when you see the nuns, well-dressed, well-educated, doing good practice, then they feel a bit shy, a bit embarrassed.
Oh, yeah.
And then sometimes they step up their game. Yeah. So I've just been watching, and I think it's also helpful for Buddhist traditions in general.
Yes.
That the women are improving. I mean, how embarrassing would it be if today, in 2024, we still did not have, women teachers?
Yes.
We're still living in cardboard boxes on the street. That would be so embarrassing, right? But fortunately, we've made the tradition proud. They're actually quite proud of us, so that's a good thing.
Thank you so
and
much.
we can help. Yes, thank you. I mean, you're the ones who've done the hard work. Thank you.
So Shakadita has been operating for over 3 decades now. So I'm sure that you've seen many changes happen. Do you feel and see the changes that you have hoped for since its establishment?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Oh, great.
Women have much more confidence that they can practice and study well. We have, women who are getting college degrees, master's degrees, PhDs. Some are getting university positions. Imagine, this was unthinkable. Unthinkable when we began our work. Women have become very famous teachers. With podcasts and many books, and highly respected. Some of the most respected teachers in the United States are women. Oh, yes. And so lay women and nuns. So I think that overall, and like for example, we have also encouraged academic research, so that, it was very common for people to say, oh, in Buddhism, men and women are equal. Wait a second. If we think about that statement, it's completely false.
Yes. Yes.
So we learned, to think critically about our own tradition and not to perpetuate these myths of gender equality, which don't hold water. And so that set the stage for changes to happen. First, we have to see that there is a problem. And then we have to make a plan to change things. So the work is not yet done. In Sri Lanka now the nuns have opportunities for full ordination. But in Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Tibet, there is no full ordination. Mongolia, Russia, there is no full ordination for women. That's why I went to Korea.
Yes.
So there's still a lot of work to be done. And the thing is that people in power are reluctant to give up their power. So the monks have been in absolute power for 2,500 years. And why would they give that up? Why would they hand that over? There's a lot of resistance. And some of these myths, like you mentioned, they'll tell the nuns, well, women really can't get liberated. Or you don't need full ordination. Can you keep the 10 precepts perfectly? They'll tell the nuns. Well, wait a second. In the Tibetan tradition anyway, a lot of people eat in the evening. Right? So who's keeping the precept perfectly? But when they say this, because they're in a position of power, the young nuns go, oh, then why would I ever try to be a bhikkhuni? Because sometimes I eat in the evening. They get discouraged by the monks. Yeah, and they say, keeping 10 precepts is enough for me.
Oh.
And they have language. They have language for nuns. The common term for a nun in Tibetan is ani, which means auntie. Auntie, I'm not your auntie. This is not a proper term for a nun.
Yeah.
Right? And so why do they call us their auntie? That's very disrespectful. It happened in Taiwan that there was a common usage of auntie or nigu for nuns. But one very brave nun, she challenged. She had a nationwide campaign. Don't call me nigu, call me bhikkhuni. She was successful.
Wow.
Yeah, no one would use that term anymore today. But I have not been successful.
Oh no, you're making.
I'm still working on it.
We are in the progress.
Right.
Yeah.
You're the inspiration for the changes.
Changes, yeah.
Yes.
Right. But this is important because women need to respect each other.
Yes.
Right? We need to encourage each other. We're not competing with each other.
Yes.
We work together. This collaboration is highly important. And appreciating the qualities and good work of other women. I mean, this is vital.
Yes.
And you see this in Korea.
Yes.
I see this.
Yes.
This is wonderful, really wonderful. They appreciate each other. So nice.
Thank you for saying that.
Beautiful. Yes.
So, actually, I have my personal question about the Buddhist tradition of the nun and monks. So we call the female monks as nun.
Yes.
But I think there is a little bit difference between English nun and Buddhist nun. So what do you think about that?
Okay, the language question. Yes. It is important. I think that if we think about, when we hear the word monk, we get this beautiful vision of a monk heading into the sunset. It looks so gorgeous, Then when we hear the word nun, we go, what's that?
Really?
Maybe, there's a difference in tone between these two words. And I think that is the preconception, the valuing of men above women, monks above nuns, is a long-standing problem. And so we sort of internalize this. We internalize, to be a monk, I'll pray to be a monk in my next life. What? Why? So I think we should own the term nun, because it's just simply the word for a female. And I personally don't want to be a monk. I'm a nun. A monk in English is male. So I know there are a few nuns who call themselves female monks, but I think we should own the term nun and make it strong and powerful and attractive.
Wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Thank you.
I think also as a layperson, like when you're a male leader, you're powerful, strong, and you have like that great connotation. But if you're a female leader, you have that sort of negative connotation, like you're a dragon lady, sort of. So, we should kind of own it too as a female leader, right?
Yeah.
I think so. But this is our internalized gender oppression.
Yes,
Right.
I think so.
Because we've all been conditioned to value males above females and to imagine that they have some power that we don't have or some qualities that we don't have. But we're all just human. And we can all develop the positive qualities. There's nothing special about men as far as I know. We're basically the same. And in fact, as the Buddha said, and the Dalai Lama says frequently, when women put their mind to it, they can actually do better than men. he says, for example, the Dalai Lama has said many times that the future of Himalayan Buddhism is in the hands of the nuns. And that's a terrific breakthrough because 50 years ago, oh my, the situation is really sad. But now, they're really stepping up. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Right.
Oh.
So I think like if women in general were given, equal opportunities, like educational, just opportunities in general, it will greatly impact social change.
It is already, you know, in the United States, for example, where women are given a roughly equal education. Now the majority of successful applicants to medical school, law school are women.
Right.
Of my students at the university, 75% are women.
Oh.
And they do better than the male students.
Right.
So if we can create equal opportunities, and we're not talking about equality, we're not equal, we're all different. But equity means justice, where women have equal opportunities. That's the important thing, right? And encouragement. Right.
So I think in that spirit, you also founded the Jamyang Foundation. Can you introduce the Jamyang Foundation?
Well, Jamyang Foundation was born out of this experience of seeing the nuns with no education. And they started to arrive in Dharamsala asking for education from the Himalayas, the remote regions, very poor areas of the Himalayas. And some of them were as young as 11 years old. And so I was just a student. I was living on like $100 a year. I was extremely poor, living in this mud hut. But there were some empty rooms. So I gave those rooms to these nuns. And then we had to try to find teachers. It was very hard to find teachers for women in those days. The monks did not want to teach nuns. They were afraid of what the neighbors would think. Why are the monks going into the nunnery? And, so suspicious. But finally I found a friend, a young Lama who was a student of my teacher. Now he's a very famous Lama. And I asked him, would you teach the nuns? And he thought for a moment. He was very young at that time. He said, if you'll teach me English, I'll teach the nuns. So, deal. We got a deal. And he did. He never learned English properly. But the nuns learned Buddhism, Tibetan language, and philosophy very well. And that was the beginning of Jamyang Chiling, which later expanded to Jamyang Foundation. Now Jamyang Chiling has 150 nuns. 6 of the first group of Geshes came from this monastery, founded just about the same time as Sakyadhita. And then gradually we increased the number of monasteries as the nuns came. I decided that if we brought everyone to Dharamsala, then that would pull the nuns out of the mountains. And who's left to teach the lay people up in the remote areas? So I thought, well, let's help establish monasteries for women in the remote areas. So that's what we did. In Zanskar we have 9. In Spiti we started 3. In Kinur also 1. And now some of these nuns had come to Dharamsala to study. But the problem is that they don't necessarily return to their homelands. But if they study in their homelands, because they have strong connections with the community and with their families, and then they can really benefit. Now some of them are teaching the lay women to read, for example. They're teaching them how to read the Buddhist scriptures, how to chant, how to practice. That is a really remarkable thing. And so we're very pleased with what they're doing. And it's innovative because sometimes we have a volunteer program, an active volunteer program. Sometimes the people come and teach yoga, for example, healthcare, conflict resolution, different topics. But the main core of the program is Buddhist studies. So hoping that they will maintain the Buddhist traditions in these remote areas, which are very strategic. there's Pakistan there, and then there's Tibet with the Chinese just right on the border, and it's very dicey situation. So that we want to keep people there who appreciate their own culture, and then as tourism comes in, of course, even more. If they think that they're backward, and that's a dangerous situation. We want them to be proud of their Buddhist culture and to continue it, right? So
Great.
Yeah, it's really happening. It's really beautiful to watch.
Yes. Beside that, religious population are decreasing these days. So why do you think we are increasingly moving away from religion?
Well, I think that corporate capitalism has a lot to do with it. That people are attracted, enticed by material dreams, hopes and dreams.
Yes.
It doesn't necessarily bring them happiness. By the time they find out, that making a pile of money is not going to bring lasting happiness, their lives have passed by. So the young people, of course, they all want to make a pile of money without working. And so they're attracted to, like, the bling, but in fact, often they come up empty-handed.
Yes.
So I don't know that we necessarily need to promote religion, but we need to promote good values, whatever religion we follow, right? Honesty, kindness.
Yes.
And, like the Dalai Lama says, my religion is love and kindness, right? Yes. So we can help promote these positive values among the youth. And whether they call themselves a Buddhist or not, how do they live their lives? How can we help them and show them that living an honest and kind life is a way to happiness, lasting happiness?
Right.
That's very important.
Right? So, the more stuff we have, the more problems we have. Everybody knows that from their own experience. So I think that the young people are wise in their own way, and we can support them in that and help them to find their way through a very crazy world.
Yes. So promoting
Super crazy.
so promoting positive values, that's what all we need to do, right? Yes. Great, thank you.
And meditation.
And meditation.
Meditation is important because to navigate this crazy, chaotic world, we need to develop a stable mind. Stable mind, where even in the winds of change, we can stay steady. Because we need to be steady so we can help others. So we can keep our balance and also help others to stay balanced.
So we need to keep that in mind. Doing meditation, cultivating positive values, right? Okay.
Well, we always need a teacher for that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are a lot more Western teachers teaching actively in the West right now. So, like, in your opinion, do you think that a lot of Americans now or Western people are much more interested in Buddhism, or do you think that Buddhism has become a little bit more mainstream?
I think Buddhism has a very strong influence on American culture. The number of Buddhists, whether it's 1% or 3%, we don't know. But some are very high profile, like movie stars, Keanu Reeves and, Uma Thurman, and, there are some that are very high profile. And there are also people teaching something that they call Buddhism that is questionable. It's sort of like playing around the edges. They take a few phrases, and if they're good looking and articulate, then they can gain a following. They can publish books, but it helps. It may help people, but it's a bit superficial, in my opinion. We also badly need well-trained, well-educated teachers that can take it deeper, because people today are not stupid. They're well-educated. They got solid questions. What happens to us after we die? Tell me right now. And so we need people who are able to, answer these difficult ethical questions. And to do that well, we need to educate ourselves.
Okay, so this is our last question, and this is a common question for all the masters we meet in this program. So even though most of us are lucky enough to live in affluent countries or within abundant societies, and we still experience pain and suffering in our lives, what can we remember to practice in our daily lives to help us live in a healthy and happy way? Do you have any suggestions?
Well, personally, I think we need to meditate on death. Death and impermanence. The thing is that life is very short, very temporary, and we often waste our time in silly things, and therefore we feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied. But if we can remember death, that life is short, that tomorrow may not come, then we will try to make the most of every precious moment. And that helps to ground us in this very moment so that we can appreciate it and live it fully. And then we'll feel happy inside, right? So the Tibetans have a meditation, 3 parts. Death is definite, but the time of death is indefinite. And at the time of death, only our spiritual practice will be of any use at all. All our money, all our degrees, even our friends and family will be really useless at that time. But what will be precious will be the Dharma that we studied and how well we can control our mind. So the Tibetans say that if you don't meditate on death in the morning, you waste the day. If you don't meditate on death in the evening, you waste the night. So this will energize us to practice and not waste our time. If we get diverted into silly, useless pursuits, then we always feel uneasy, unfulfilled, unsatisfied, unhappy. But if we remember, oh, this day is so valuable, I'm going to use it in the best possible way, then every moment is a big joy. So that would be my advice. Not original, but hopefully helpful.
Very helpful.
Very, very helpful, yes. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. Meditating on death,
Right,
impermanence.
right.
Yes.
That's a great way because you never really meditate on death. You always meditate on life.
Yeah.
So
Right. Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, certainly.
So thank you so much for your wisdom and insights that you have shared today with us. We deeply appreciate it, and we hope to meet you in Korea soon.
right. Or we can go to iPeaceCenter.
Yes, we will go there.
Well, I really thank you for organizing this series. I think it's very important to reach out to the public, help them understand more about contemporary Buddhism, and thank you for all your great questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Meditation and practice are constant. The more you practice, we become wiser, and the world becomes even more peaceful.
I hope more people encounter opportunities to meditate, cultivating wisdom and positive values within themselves, and contributing to make the world a more beautiful place. Introducing meditation centers from all around the world, this is Go Inside Global. Today, we feature the iPeaceCenter in Hawaii, founded by Venerable Karma Lekshe Somo. Thank you to everyone who joined us today.
Thank you.